Hi. There, my name is Garrett, and I wanted to share with you a story about the worst company I ever worked for. So fresh out of high school, I found a job working for a distribution company. We supplied all kinds of things such as paper, pens, and even some food items like French fries. If a local business needed it, then we would sell it to them. The thing that first interested me about the company was that it was run by a single family. At first, I thought that this was a benefit, but it definitely wasn't. The company Strauss Incorporated hired me straight out of high school, which I thought was amazing. Since I didn't have any work experience, and over the course of the next 5 years, I slowly rose up in the ranks until I was in middle management. My job was to organize the warehouse and manage inventory and ship merchandise to clients. My main boss was the owner's youngest son, Hunter, who had a mean streak in him. I would have to replace at least one member of my staff every few months on account of Hunter, as he treated people terribly. He would expect them to work during their lunch hours, or he would go so far as to have employees wash his car. Honestly, he was quite the spoiled brat, and he took advantage of people. Some of us put up with him because we knew that if we just gave in and gave him what he wanted, then he would leave us alone for the most part. But occasionally, one of the employees would tell him no and get fired. As if that wasn't bad enough, I learned that unless you were related to the owners, then you could never make it any higher than middle management. All the senior positions were held by the two owners and their children, which meant that I was as high as I could get in the company. When I first got my position, I didn't mind, but the more I thought about it, the more that I realized that I was kind of stuck. Since I only had my high school degree, I would have a hard time finding a job somewhere else. But if I stayed, then I could never hope to earn more than what I already did. Luckily, I made okay money, but there really wasn't much of a future for me at Strauss Incorporated. Of course, at the time, I was single, so it didn't matter much. So long as my rent was paid for, I was okay with where I was at. But then things started getting a bit uncomfortable.
Hey Gary, here's a list of some new orders I need you to fill out.
Sir. It's Garrett, and I don't recognize the names on these papers, or the address. Are they even in our city?
Are you talking back to me, Gary? Listen, just put those items on the next truck and let me worry about where they are going, all right?
Yes, sir. I'll do that, sir. I hated having to swallow my pride and not speak up for myself, but I also knew that if I did, then Hunter would fire me without even thinking about it. And so, I did as he told me to do. I asked my team to put the order together and load it onto the next truck. I had no idea where it was going, but Hunter said that he would take care of it, and so I left it up to him. The next day, he came to me with another 2 orders that I didn't understand. Both were to companies that we had never worked with before, and had addresses that when I looked them up online, that they didn't exist. There was definitely something fishy going on, but I couldn't figure it out. Hey Hunter, I really don't want to speak out of turn, but are you sure that these orders are correct? I'm just looking out for the company, and I wouldn't want to lose money by shipping things to the wrong addresses.
Listen, Gary Barry, that isn't your problem, okay? Just send them out. Also, here is a list of some restocking shipments. Just shut up, don't think, and do your job. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. I understand. It bothered me so much, but I couldn't say anything. All I could do was do as he instructed. So I set about gathering up the items for the 2 outgoing shipments, and then I put them off to the side just as the truck that had our restocking supplies came in. As I was unloading the truck, though, I started looking at the items that were coming in, and I couldn't help but notice that the restock order was the same as the one that we packed the previous day. Now that wouldn't really be unusual, except for the fact that when we received such orders, there would always be a few items short. So the fact that we got everything back was a bit unusual. Once I had put everything away, I decided that I would do something that would confirm my suspicions. As quietly and discreetly as I could, I wrote the word Barry on one of the boxes that was going out with a permanent marker, and then I loaded the 2 shipments onto the outgoing truck. Once I was finished, I wrapped up for the day and headed home. I wasn't sure what exactly was going on, but something just didn't feel right. The next day was more of the same. Hunter gave me paperwork, which had the orders to be filled out, and a restocking shipment as well. Unlike the previous day, though, I didn't say anything, and just set about gathering up the outgoing orders. And then, just as before, I put them to the side as I started unloading the incoming shipment. Slowly, I emptied the truck, doing my best to check all the items that came in, and just like the previous day, the order was exact. And I knew that my suspicions had been correct when I saw the box with the word Barry written on it. There was no mistaking it then. although I had no idea why Hunter would make fake shipping orders and then just juggle the inventory around. There must be some kind of reason, but I couldn't figure it out. On a hunch, though, I made copies of the invoices for all the loads for the week and put them in my lunch pail. When suddenly Hunter came over.
Hey, Gary Barry, are you done loading the truck?
No. I only just finished unloading the incoming one.
You useless idiot. Well, that's fine. I'll just have someone else do it. You're fired.
But why? I've always worked hard. Before I could say another word, 2 guards appeared next to me and dragged me out of the building. Laying on the ground outside, I struggled to understand what had just happened. I didn't get why Hunter had fired me. Somehow, I knew that it had to do with those unusual shipments, but I couldn't figure out exactly what it was. Suddenly, the idea came to me that I should go to the police and report it to them. Officer, I think something shady is going on at my work, and I think they fired me because I was asking questions that I shouldn't.
Firing someone isn't against the law, kid.
No, sir, but I've been working for Strauss Incorporated for many years now, and I've only noticed that something odd is going on just this week.
Wait a minute, did you say Strauss Incorporated?
Once I had the second officer listening to me, I gave them the paperwork that I had, and they began to ask me all kinds of questions about who our clients were and what was delivered. Thankfully, I have a good memory, and so I was able to answer all their questions easily. Once we were finished, I went home, not sure if I had been of help, but then I saw on the news the next day that the entire family at Strauss Incorporated had been arrested. It turned out that Hunter was laundering money using fake shipments and then buying the shipments back to show a loss, which allowed them to cheat on their taxes. My going to the police finally gave them what they needed to get a warrant and go into the company and search through their records, which showed that literally every family member was up to some crime or another, which was why they never allowed anyone to be promoted. They didn't want anyone finding out about all the illegal activity that the family was involved in. I was shocked. I would have never guessed that I was able to bring down a crime family, but I felt vindicated. Hunter had treated the employees terribly. Actually, the whole family did. And I managed to get revenge on them on behalf of everyone that was fired for no good reason. It did feel good, but unfortunately, I was still out of a job, and I knew that I was going to have a hard time finding a new one. I looked at the job listings online, and my heart sank. None of the jobs that I was qualified for paid even half of what I had been making, which meant that I would probably have to start looking for a new place to live. One probably with a few roommates, when suddenly my phone rang. It was the officers that I had spoken to the other day.
Is this Garrett? Yes, I do actually. Listen, I'm calling on behalf of the bank. With the Strauss family going to prison, the bank took ownership of the company, and they are looking to hire people from within the company to fill out the leadership roles. If you're interested.
Wait, are you serious?
They would like to hire you to be the head manager of the department that you used to work for. Are you interested? Yeah, looks like they will almost double what you were making before, but the hours will probably increase a bit.
I didn't even need to give it much thought. Of course I would take the position. Within 24 hours, I had gone from a dead-end job to being fired, and now I would be the manager of the whole department. I couldn't believe my luck. As it turned out, the bank taking over was the best thing that could happen to the company. They changed the name to Radco Incorporated. And as they had said, they put people that had worked for Strauss Incorporated for many years into senior positions and then sold the company to one of our competitors. At first, everyone was worried, but the new bosses kept everything the same. Except now, we all got benefits and paid vacations. On top of that, the new owners offered all the employees pension plans. For the first time in a long time, I started to plan for my future, as I was no longer limited to how high in the company I could go. As for the Strauss family, every last one of them, Hunter included, ended up going to jail for a long time, and as a way of saying thank you. I took a photo of my new team and sent it to Hunter with a message on the bottom that read, "Thanks for everything. Hope prison food is as bad as people say it is. Love, Garrett."